Thank you very much for enrolling in your Idaho Dealer Pre-License course. My name is Douglas Johnson. I'm the lead instructor of the Automobile Dealer Training Association, and I will be giving your training. So first of all, I would like to welcome you and congratulate you on your decision to start this incredible business. I want to give you an idea of all the content that we're going to cover in your Idaho Dealer Pre-License course. We're going to cover several training units. I'm going to give you some really valuable contact information. I'm going to show you your pre-license steps. I'm actually going to show you how to apply for your license. We're going to complete titles as a licensed Idaho motor vehicle dealer. I'm going to show you how to apply for titles. We're going to keep records. I'm going to show you how to collect and remit sales tax. I'm going to show you how to legally use your dealer plates and issue temporary plates. We'll talk about ethics, fines, and dealer license suspensions. We'll talk about choosing a business entity, advertising and deceptive trade practices, odometer disclosure, and odometer fraud. And I'm also going to show you how to run vehicle history reports. Then we will delve into FTC buyer's guide rules, federal laws, financing, buy here, pay here, repossessions, dealer floor plans. I'll show you how to hire employees, and we'll talk about prohibited employment practices, I-9 form and E-Verify, small business administration resources, and some very valuable dealer management software. We're going to start your Idaho Dealer Pre-License course by giving you some really valuable contact information. And I'm also going to cover what are known as your pre-license steps. Dealer licenses in Idaho are regulated by the Idaho Department of Transportation. The Department of Transportation has what is known as dealer services, and they will process your initial dealer license application. They will also be a great resource for you after you've gotten your license. If you have any questions about how to obtain your license, or once you've gotten your license, or have questions in the future when you've been a licensed dealer for 20 years, you can contact Auto Dealer Services Division with any questions you may have. And here's their contact information. You can reach them at Auto Dealer Services Division, Vehicle Services, Dealer Licensing, Idaho Department of Transportation, P.O. Box 34, Boise, 83707. Or you can go to their website, idt.idaho.gov. Here's their phone number as well. For dealer operations, you can call 208-334-8681. For any titling questions that you might have later on, you can call 208-334-8663. Or you can always drop them an email, dealers@idt.idaho.gov. I want you to be aware, there is no such thing as a stupid question in this industry. Whether you've got a question about how to get your dealer's license initially, or maybe you've just gotten your dealer's license, or if you have questions after you've been a licensed dealer for 10 or 20 years, there really is no such thing as a stupid question. The only stupid question is the one that you didn't ask. So I don't want you to ever wing it. If you're not really sure how to complete a form or maybe complete a sales process, staying in contact with dealer services is one of the best bits of advice that I can give you during your training course. I first want to cover with you the three types of Idaho dealer licenses. There is a new motor vehicle dealer license, which will allow you to sell brand new vehicles. So if you're going to sell brand new Toyotas or new Chevrolets or brand new Fords, you'll need a new motor vehicle dealer license. There's also a category known as a used motor vehicle dealer retail license, which will allow you to sell vehicles directly to the general public and to other licensed dealers. So you can sell retail to the general public or wholesale to other licensed dealers. And finally, there's a used vehicle dealer wholesale license. With a wholesale dealer license, you're only allowed to sell to other licensed motor vehicle dealers. A wholesale license never allows you to sell vehicles to the general public. You may only sell vehicles to other licensed motor vehicle dealers. I want to first cover your dealer pre-license steps. And these are the steps you must complete before you apply for your Idaho dealer's license. And that's why they are called dealer pre-license steps. You must complete every one of these steps before you apply for your Idaho dealer license. If you skip any of these steps, you will not be able to apply for your dealer's license. So the name of the game is to complete all the steps before you apply for your dealer license. And we're going to cover each one of those steps, including the registration of your dealership name with the Secretary of State. I'm also going to show you how to get a vehicle dealer performance bond. We'll talk about your insurance, the Our Car Fund. I'm going to show you how to meet your building and zoning requirements. We'll get an employer identification number, a seller permit number. We'll talk about your education requirements. I will show you how to actually submit your dealer license application, There will be a quick dealership location inspection and you'll be licensed. And it seems like a long list, but it really is step by step, and the state will stay in contact with you during this licensing process. Prior to applying for a dealer or even obtaining a dealer surety bond, you'll need to make sure that the name of the dealership that you want to use is not deceptively similar to an existing dealership's name. And there's a couple of ways you can find this out. First of all, you can call 208-334-8681, or you can check with the Secretary of State. And we will cover that process in a little bit in your Idaho dealer training course. Any dealership name which has a DBA, which is doing business as, must be filed as an assumed name with the Secretary of State's office, and I'll show you that as well. If the dealership is owned by a corporation, a limited liability company, or a limited liability partnership, you must submit verification from the Idaho Secretary of State, and I'm also going to show you how to do that in just a moment. I want to show you how to register your business with the Idaho Secretary of State, and I also want to show you how to file what is called an assumed name if this applies to the name that you're going to be using. The first thing we're going to do is visit the Secretary of State's website at sos.idaho.gov, and this is a very business-friendly website that's going to make it very easy for you to register your business name and maintain compliance with your new business. So the first thing you want to do is click on Business Services, like you see right there, and then you're going to want to go ahead and create an account to log in. Since you haven't been on the website, well, let's go ahead and create a new Secretary of State account in Business Services. So you're going to need to go ahead and click on Create an Account, like you see right here. And you'll go ahead and create a new Idaho Secretary of State account. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You'll need to enter your first and last name, email, your phone number, and you're going to create a new password. Then on the next screen, you'll just enter your user email and your new password. And now you have landed on the Idaho Online Business Services webpage, which is part of the Idaho Secretary of State. The first thing that we want to do is search for a business name that's not being used by another Idaho motor vehicle dealer. The state of Idaho wants to make sure that each dealership in the state has a separate name. So you're going to have to make sure the name that you're not using for your dealership will not be the same as another licensed motor vehicle dealer in the state is using. So on the Business Services link, you're going to go ahead and click on Search for a Business link that you see right here at the very top left of the screen. On this page, you want to go ahead and type in the name that you would like to use for your new business. So just go ahead and type in the name that you want to use. And for this example, I typed in ABC Motors. Well, as you can see, ABC Motors is already in use. And the status states that there is a dealership called ABC Motors, and it's active and current, and they reserved that name in April of 2006. So you're not going to be able to call your new business ABC Motors. It's already being used by another dealership in the state of Idaho. So let's try a different name. I typed in the name Idaho Motors, and you do have some variations here, such as Idaho Motor Sales LLC, Idaho Motorsports, and then down at the bottom you see Idaho Motors LLC, which appears to be dissolved. If a business name has been dissolved, there's a chance you may be able to acquire that business name. But if there is a problem with that name that you've chosen, the Secretary of State will reach out to you, usually within 24 to 48 hours, to let you know whether or not you can use that name and whether or not that name is available. However, if there is no current dealer that is active and in existing status, you should be able to acquire that name. Here's another name. I typed in XYZ Motors, and as you can see, there's absolutely no results for XYZ Motors. So when you see a dealership name with no results found, you should be able to go ahead and acquire that name no matter what. Now back on your homepage, let's go ahead and click on Certificate of Organization Limited Liability Company. For this training scenario, I want to show you how to register your new business as a limited liability company, or what's more commonly known as an LLC. And I'm not telling you to be an LLC. I strongly encourage you to seek legal counsel on what type of business entity is best for you. And later on in your dealer training course, I will extensively cover the different types of business categories and entities for dealerships. In this training scenario, I'm going to show you how to register your new business as an LLC, just as a training example. So if you are an LLC, you'll click on Certificate of Organization Limited Liability Company. And as you can see, there's a little drop-down box. It's a $100 fee to file an LLC, and you can go ahead and click on the File Online button to easily file your Secretary of State LLC paperwork with the state of Idaho. As you can see on this page, there are 3 charges. There's a standard filing fee of $100, the expedited fee adds $40, and then the same-day service fee, which totals $200. And I do want you to be aware these fees could change, and these are the fees that are current at the time that you are watching this video. And it could be a different fee than what you see on your screen. So if you are an LLC, you would check the limited liability and whether or not you have reserved that name. If you have not reserved a name, then you'll need to go ahead and type in the name 2 times. Remember, this is the name that you're going to be using as your new business. This is the name that's going to be on all of your business documents, including your performance bond and your insurance, which we're going to cover here in just a few moments. On this page, you want to go ahead and enter your name and also the best mailing address for your new business as well. If you are located in the state but getting an Idaho dealer's license, you're going to have what's known as a registered agent. However, if you do want to act as your own registered agent, this is possible if you do live in the state of Ohio. So select the name of your commercial registered agent or your own name if you're using it as you're using yourself as your registered agent. Now, if you are acting as your own registered agent, you will go ahead and enter your own contact information. And as you can see right here, every dealership in the state must have a registered agent, whether it's a commercial registered agent or it's the individual that's acting as a registered agent, which could be you. Then you'll need to verify that business entity. And on this screen, you will have to enter who is going to be the registered agent. So whether that is you or whether that is an official company, you can certainly enter that information correctly. And then you will have to affirm that the registered agent appointed has consented to serve as the registered agent for this business entity. Now on this screen, if you will have to enter what is known as a governor if you have an LLC. And this is the person who is actually the leader of the LLC. So you can either click and add yourself or maybe somebody else is the governor. So you'll go ahead and add that contact information. So for example, if you were the governor or maybe another person who's acting as the governor, a partner, go ahead and enter whoever is going to be the governor on the LLC. And on this screen, if you're the governor, then you will see that you have been added as the governor of the LLC. On this screen, you want to verify that all the information is true and correct. And next, you'll have the opportunity to either file your paperwork with the Secretary of State online, or you can print it up and mail it. And I always recommend doing everything online. That way it will be instantaneous and you can print your verification up, as you will need to agree to all the electronic declarations as you see right here. Then you will need to digitally sign your name and enter the day. And then you are taken to the state of Idaho's secure payment processor, where you can either pay with your credit card or you can pay a company called Tyler, Idaho, which is a software company that handles many of the transactions that we're going to be doing later on in your dealer training course. After you have paid your registration fees and the name has been approved by the Idaho Secretary of State, you will see a document very similar to this one that shows that you have actually registered your business with the Secretary of State. And it takes just a few moments to conduct this process of registering a business with the Secretary of State. Next, I want to cover the assumed business name, or what's called a DBA. An assumed business name, or ABN, which is also known as a DBA, doing business as, is a name that a business or individual uses in addition to their legal name. So for example, if it was Idaho Motor Vehicle Importers LLC, and you were opening Idaho Motors is your assumed name. Or let's say, for example, you're a sole proprietor. So let's say, for example, your name's Sarah Sanchez and you're a sole proprietor, but you're opening Sanchez Motors. You need to file an assumed name. So if you are instead going to file a certificate of assumed business name, then you'll simply click on the corresponding link of the Secretary of State's office, and you'll easily be able to file that name that applies to you. So please do keep that in mind. I do want you to be aware, if you have any questions whatsoever about business entities or how to file or anything like that, you can go ahead and contact the Secretary of State at any time. And once again, their official address is 450 North 4th Street, Boise 83702. Their phone number is 208-334-2301. That's for businesses. Later on in your course, when we talk about financing, there's a UCC number, 208-334-3191. And for business emails, you can send an email to business@sos.idaho.gov. Notaries, NTAA@sos.idaho.gov, UCC@sos.idaho.gov for UCC filings, and fiscal questions, fiscal@sos.idaho.gov. In order to obtain an Idaho used motor vehicle dealer license, you will be required to get a vehicle dealer performance bond, which is more commonly known as a dealer surety bond. If you're getting a retail license, you need a $20,000 dealer surety bond. If you're getting a wholesale license, you need a $40,000 dealer surety bond. If you're just getting a motorcycle or all-terrain vehicle utility type license, then you will need a $10,000 bond. All bonds must be issued by a corporate surety license to do business within the state of Idaho. A bond may also be posted in the form of a cash or certificate of deposit, which remains on deposit until 5 years after the dealership has gone out of business. So you can actually deposit that money into a bank and show proof of that, but it has to remain in there 5 years after the dealership has gone out of business. Now, your dealer surety bond must reflect the exact ownership, DBAs, and dealership location that's listed on your dealer license. So how much does a dealer surety bond cost? Is a $40,000 dealer surety bond going to cost you $40,000, or is a $20,000 dealer surety bond going to cost you $20,000? No. Your bond price is based on your credit score. So the better credit you have, the lower your bond price. And on this screen, you'll see an estimate. Say, for example, you're getting a $20,000 bond. If you have a 699 plus credit score, your bond should cost around $100 for the $20,000 bond. Or if you want to spread that out, you can actually finance it for $10 a month. If your credit score is 660 to 698, the bond will be about $140 a year. Credit scores of 649 to 659, approximately $180 a year. 629 to 648, as you can see right here, the lower the price is, the higher the price is for lower credit scores. So I do want you to be aware, if your credit score is below 600, the bond price does ride up a little bit. And if the credit score is 550 to 599, your bond will cost about $750 a year. And if you have a 500 to 549 credit score, then you'll be looking at about $1,200. But I do encourage you to never, ever let the cost of your dealer surety bond keep you from getting into this business, because once you get into this business and find out how low vehicles are selling for at the wholesale dealer auctions and how much you're marking them up for a profit to sell retail customers, I think you're going to wish you had gotten a dealer's license many, many years ago. So many times you can pay your entire year's bond or insurance with one good sale. And if you want to get a quick, easy quote for your bond, you can go to idahodealerbond.com. idahodealerbond.com. And once again, if that bond costs more than what you were planning, you can certainly make payments on your bond. But I want to show you how to get a bond quote right now. You can go to idahodealerbond.com. Once again, please make a note of this, idahodealerbond.com. You're going to enter whether you want a $10,000, $20,000, or a $40,000 bond. So let's say you are a retail dealer and you want a $20,000 bond. You would obviously select the $20,000 option. Then you would verify that is the bond that you want, and it is with the Idaho Transportation Department, the ITD. You can go ahead and enter your business name. If for some reason you haven't acquired this name, you can always amend that name later on before your bond is effective. Or, when you apply for your license, you will have to make sure that all the names are the same. So I always recommend registering the name which you want to use with the Secretary of State's website as one of your first steps. That way you can acquire your bond, your insurance, and other documentation in your dealership name. You're going to select whether you are a sole proprietor, an LLC, partnership, or corporation. And since you are starting a new business, then obviously you're going to select the new business link as you see right here. You'll go ahead and enter your phone number, your email address, and enter your business address. If you haven't obtained a business address yet, you can enter your home address, but remember, you have to amend the address to your dealership address in the future. So always recommend obtaining your dealership name from the Secretary of State and have an address in mind before you obtain your bond and your insurance, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Then you'll simply enter your name, and you will need to enter a Social Security number. This online bond quoting system is going to do a real quick soft credit check to give your bond price the most effective quote, and this will not affect your credit score. But you are going to have to enter that Social Security number to obtain your bond. I do want you also to be aware the association has built this bond quoting system and will send your bond quote to one of over 30 bond carriers based on your credit score. So it will be sent to the bond carrier that specializes in your credit score, which will hopefully get you the cheapest bond possible. I want you to know, if you do purchase your bond through this system, the Automobile Dealer Training Association will receive a very small commission. Then you will get your verification that your bond quote has been received. And if you like the quote price, you can go ahead and purchase the bond right there. And here's what your bond is going to look like, okay? First of all, your bond must be signed and notarized. A very common mistake for an Idaho dealer application is sent in with a bond that has not been signed or notarized. So the first thing you want to do is print up your bond and get it notarized. So make sure that you get that taken care of and do not sign it until you are actually in front of a notary, okay? Now this is what's called the second page of your bond, which we call the power of attorney. When you're submitting your bond, you must submit the first page, which is the bond, and the second page, which is the power of attorney. So please keep that in mind. And the power of attorney form will actually be pre-signed. So once again, if you would like us to send your bond quote to one of over 30 bond carriers based on your credit score, you can hopefully get a very reasonably priced dealer surety bond. Go to idahodealerbond.com, or you can go to your favorite search engine and search for Idaho Dealer Surety Bond. Next, I want to talk about a very, very important component of any Idaho motor vehicle dealership, and that is your insurance. Idaho requires every motor vehicle driven on every roadway to be insured, including the vehicles that you own and may possibly allow a customer to test drive. So to ensure your inventory is always insured, you must obtain your dealer insurance before applying for your dealer license. I want to repeat that very important statement. You must obtain your dealer insurance before you apply for your dealer license. Any dealer that does not maintain financial responsibility could face penalties, including possible dealer license revocation. Right now, I want to talk about the different types of insurance. First of all, there's the bare bones minimum, which we call dealer liability. Dealer liability is just like liability on your own vehicle. In a rare scenario, let's say your customer wrecks your demo into another vehicle, it's going to cover the other vehicle. It'll never fix your property because it's dealer liability. It's the cheapest insurance with the least amount of coverage. I always recommend either starting out or shortly thereafter to bump it up to dealer's open lot. You might think of this as full coverage, but in our industry, we call it dealer's open lot. Dealer's open lot does not cover a specific amount of vehicles. It's going to cover a dollar amount. So let's say, for example, you've built up $50,000 worth of inventory. Then you need $50,000 worth of open lot coverage because, I mean, in the state, you can see tornadoes, you can see a massive storm. I know more than one dealer that's went into near financial ruin because they lost all their inventory due to a tornado or something like that. So as you're building up inventory, you want to definitely build up your coverage as well to make sure that you always have enough coverage on your inventory. Garage keepers, if you have a repair shop and you're keeping customers' vehicles overnight, then you want garage keepers because that would protect your customer's vehicle. So I always feel like an easy way to remember it, if you keep a garage, you'll need garage keepers. Errors and omissions would cover if you made some huge, massive mistake on paperwork. Employment practices would cover you, let's say, for example, you have employees, maybe you're paying an incorrect wage or something like that. Workers' compensation covers you if, for some reason, your employees get injured on a job. And false pretense covers you if somebody buys a vehicle from you under false pretense. So let's say I come into your dealership and I buy a vehicle using a stolen ID. I bought a vehicle under false pretense. So you can talk to your insurance agent about that. Now, if you want the minimum dealer liability, you can tell your insurance agent that you want a 25-50-15 policy. And what that means is 25,000 bodily injury to one person, 50,000 bodily injury to two persons, or $15,000 property damage or destruction. So you might make a quick note from this screen. If you are looking for the minimum amount of insurance to get your dealer's license, you will need to tell your insurance agent that you need a 25, 50, 15 policy. Now, the certificate needs to be issued with what's called any auto, and it needs to state that it complies with Idaho Code 49-16008A. Did you catch all that? Hopefully your insurance will be very familiar with this type of policy. But as with your bond, the location must match the address on the application, and you're going to get what is called an Accord 25 form, and you'll go ahead and submit that with your application. There are basically four factors that will affect the price of your dealer insurance. First of all is going to be your driving record. So if you got a great driving record, your prices for insurance will be lower. If you got a horrendous driving record, your dealer insurance prices will be higher. Dealership ownership experience, there is a plateau in the industry. Once you have owned a dealership for 3 years, you should see a dramatic drop in your insurance policy pricing. And if you have not, at that time, you definitely need to get other quotes, because there's a lot of other companies that will quote you once you have 3 years of experience on your belt. Geographic area. As within any insurance policy, the closer you get to a downtown urban core, the prices are going to be higher. The more you're in a rural or suburban part of the state, then your price is going to go down. It's also going to be based on the number of dealer license plates that you have. The more dealer plates you have, the higher your insurance. So where are you going to get quotes? Well, you can certainly contact your current agent. You can ask other dealers, or you can do a quick internet search for Idaho dealer insurance. As you see here, there's a lot of companies right there. I'm always going to recommend that you get at least 2 quotes, because it tends to be a very large variety in policy pricing. So you might have one insurance agent that quotes $500 or $600 a year, and then you might have the insurance agent right across the street from her quote $4,000 or $5,000 a year for the identical coverage. So I strongly encourage you to get at least 2 quotes. And then here is what you see is what I mentioned a moment ago, your Accord 25 form. This is your proof of insurance, and you're going to need to submit a copy of your Accord 25 form with your dealer license application. And this is going to show the state of Idaho that all your vehicles are insured. So remember, you must obtain your dealer surety bond and your dealer insurance before you apply for your Idaho dealer's license. Next, I want you to be aware of what's known as the iCar Fund. All retail vehicle dealers are required to pay $300 towards the Idaho Consumer Asset Recovery Fund, we call this iCar, as a condition for initial license issuance or license renewal. All wholesale-only dealers are actually exempt from paying into iCar. Dealers who have operated for at least 3 consecutive years without any lapses or claims against their vehicle dealer performance bonds or judgments against them through iCar have the option to operate without a bond. So I want to repeat that. Any retail dealer that has operated for at least 3 consecutive years without any lapses or claims against their vehicle dealer bond or judgments against them through the iCar Fund have the option to operate without a bond. So if you have not had any judgments against your surety bond, you may be able to operate your Idaho dealership without a bond in the future. Now, I would like to cover your dealership building requirements. You must have a bricks and mortar location for your dealer's license. The state of Idaho is never going to allow some type of virtual dealer's license where you would basically show up at the Home Depot parking lot and then sell a vehicle and disappear forever. The state of Idaho wants to make sure that your customers know where you're at after the sale. So you must have a physical bricks and mortar location for your dealer's license. And I want to cover some of those building requirements with you right now. You must have an enclosed commercial structure that meets applicable building codes that is located in the state. It's easily accessible and open to the public during all reasonable times and hours. And a dealer must declare business hours, and the dealership must be staffed during the business hours by either an owner or a licensed salesperson. I want to repeat that portion there. The dealership must be staffed during your official business hours by an owner or licensed salesperson. So the general public must be able to contact the dealer or salesperson in person or by telephone at all reasonable times. The building that you use for your Idaho dealer license must be zoned accordingly. It must be zoned to have a dealer's license. So how do you find this out? It is actually quite easy. If you're in a city, you can call your city hall, or if you're in a county, call your county courthouse, and you can usually ask for the planning and zoning office. Let them know the address that you would like to use for your dealer's license, and they'll look up the zoning for that location and let you know whether or not it is zoned correctly to have a dealer's license at that location. So they're either going to tell you, yes, you can have a dealer's license at that location, or no, it's not zoned correctly. So the state does require the location is zoned for a dealer's license. Now, it is very, very important to ensure the location is zoned accordingly, because I have actually spoken with potential dealers that have purchased real estate assuming they could have a dealer's license at that location, only to have a city tell them it's not zoned correctly. One of the first steps when you're obtaining your business location is to ensure the location is zoned to have a dealer's license. The structure shall be in an area that is zoned by local authorities for the type of business for which the dealer is licensed. You will need to submit what's known as a letter of zoning approval, or the zoning official's signature on the dealer application would work as well. So it's also required for what we'll call off-site sales, changes of locations, and supplemental lots, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. Now I want to talk about your office requirements. You must have a clearly defined office area. So the state wants to make sure you've got a good retail office that's safe and conducive for motor vehicle transactions. The state does not want you completing title paperwork in some garage next to a car up on a jack, okay? You want to make sure that you have a defined office area. The office must be lockable. You must have a desk, filing cabinet, and a phone for the business, and this is where all of your books are going to be located unless you notify the department in writing that you'll be storing records elsewhere. Now, all of your records must be stored at your licensed location. You might want to you can't keep them at an off-site location, but you would need to notify the department 30 days in advance of moving records and files away from your licensed location. Always remember that all of your records, that includes physical books and records, must be made available to the department within 3 business days if they ever request your records. So remember, keep your records stored at your licensed location unless you give the department 30 days advance notice to store those records at another location. Now, you're going to need to have what's called an improved display area. You must have space for at least 5 or more vehicles of the type that you're licensed to sell. And it must be immediately adjoining the building or adjacent to the dealership office. Your display lot must be owned or leased by the dealer, and it must be separated from any other business property. So the state doesn't want, say, for example, a neighboring business's customers parking on your display area, and then one of your customers thinking that vehicle's for sale. That's confusion the state wants you to avoid. So always make sure that your display area is separated from any other neighboring business's customer parking. So do please keep that in mind. You can use ropes, chains, barriers, and that would meet the definition of a barrier. Remember, wholesale dealers are not required to have a display area. You are allowed to have what's called a supplemental lot. And this is a physical separate location that's owned and maintained by the dealer or the manufacturer in the same county as the principal place of business, which meets all the requirements for the principal place of business. You want to make sure that if you do have a supplemental lot, that all the licenses are renewed at the exact same time. So if you do have a supplemental lot, you need to submit ITD Form 3170 along with your zoning approval. You would need a bond rider if applicable, showing coverage at the main lot and the supplemental lot. And also your insurance would need to show the coverage at the main lot and the supplemental lot. Here's your ITD Form 3170 for your supplemental lot approval. So please do keep that one in mind. There's also what is known as an off-site sale, and this is that location that's other than a principal place of business. You can actually have an off-site sale, but you cannot have that period for more than 10 days. So this would be, such as auto shows, auctions, shopping center promotions, tent sales, and things like that. And you must be located within 175-mile radius of your licensed location. So do please keep that in mind as well. If you are going to have that off-site display, you have to send in ITD Form 319A and also a zoning letter for where that location, that proposed temporary supplemental lot license will be located. So do please keep that in mind. And here's that form I just mentioned, ITD Form 3198. Now, there's also what's called a casual display. And this is display of a vehicle or vessel other than a location where your license is located. Now, this is only display. There's no type of sales activity whatsoever and may consist of no more than 6 vehicles at any given time. This is something where you might see a couple of vehicles in a mall with no salesperson or no sales activity whatsoever. But that is going to be limited to 30 days, and you must notify the state in advance anytime you are going to have a casual display. Here is your casual display form ITD form 3932. If you're ever having a casual display, you have to make sure and notify the department in advance.